Okay, we are now into the last leg of our seminar. On behalf of the organizing secretary of this 2 day national level seminar on the economic and literary trajectories of Greek economy, the Indian experience, organized by the Department of Economics and the Department of English in collaboration with IQAC, I welcome you all. It's going to be a long session since we have a total number of 6 presenters in this particular session, and yes, 7 presenters in this session, and Miss Ramani Dev, who was scheduled to present in the last session. Hopefully, she will be presenting her paper at the end of this session. Before I request the paper presenters to present their paper, I would like to introduce you to our chairperson, Dr. Anupama Bandopadhyay, Assistant Professor, Department of Fine Arts and Creative and Visual Arts, Manipal University, Jaipur, Rajasthan. Dr. Anupama Bandopadhyay is an Assistant Professor of English at Manipal University, Jaipur. She received her PhD in English Literature from Alia University, Kolkata, where she also worked as a teaching assistant and UGC fellow. Her research lies at the intersections of bioregionalism, ecological literary studies, and place-based narratives, with a particular focus on the works of Bibhutibhushan Bandyopadhyay. Her doctoral dissertation, Bioregionalism in Literature, a study of rehabilitation in Bibhutibhushan Bandyopadhyay's select novels, examines how literature articulates ecological belonging and community knowledge systems. Dr. Bandyopadhyay also works in the areas of feminist theory and gender studies, and her research has appeared in reputed journals, Index in Scopus, UNESCO, Shahitya Academy, and UGC Care List. She has presented her work at several national and international conferences. She continues to engage actively in research and teaching in the fields of ecological humanities, Indian writing in English, and 19th century literature. And with that short introduction, may I now request Dr. Anupama Bandopadhyay to kindly chair this session. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome to our last session. Ma'am,
yes. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am, you are. You are audible. We have a total number of 7 papers, and one presenter who could not present her paper in the last session. We have requested her to present her paper at the end of the session. Each paper presenters will get 8 to 10 minutes. I would request the paper presenters to stick to their time. And I think we can take the questions at the end of the sessions with your due permission.
All right, all right.
Okay.
All right, so good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for that very kind introduction. And I would also like to thank the Department of English as well as the Department of Economics, Principal, IQSE, and the entire organizing committee of Seva Bharati Mahavidyalaya College, all right, for organizing this 2-day conference. It is my pleasure to chair this technical session, which brings together diverse and insightful perspectives on the intersections of literature, labor, and contemporary socio-economic realities. I look forward to stimulating exchange of ideas and thoughtful discussions from all our presenters and participants. And since we are running out of time, I hope without much ado we can begin with our presentations.
Yes, ma'am. May I call upon the first presenter?
Yes, please.
Okay. Ms. Shoumili Shatra, third year BA student of Sundarban Mahavidyalaya. The title of her presentation is From Rifle to Rating, Colonial Spectacle and the Rise of Algorithmic Authority in Neoliberal India. Ms. Shatra, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Shoumili Shatra. I am presenting this paper named From Rifle to Rating, Colonial Spectacle and the Rise of Algorithmic Authority in Neoliberal India. Let me share my screen. I hope my screen is visible. So this paper from rifle to rating examines how the logic of colonial power has disappeared but has been reconfigured within the structures of neoliberal India. Drawing on Shooting an Elephant by George Orwell, I argue that colonial authority functioned through spectacle, performance, and the fear of humiliation. The imperial officer, though seemingly powerful, was in fact trapped within the expectations of the crowd, forced to perform dominance in order to maintain legitimacy. In the contemporary context, this spectacle has shifted from the visible authority of the rifle to the invisible authority of the algorithmic systems. Today, gig workers perform under constant surveillance through ratings, metrics, and digital feedback, where control is no longer imposed externally but internalized psychologically. Thus, what appears as technological progress is, in many ways, a continuation of older structures of domination in more sophisticated forms. This paper re examines Shooting an Elephant by George Orwell to challenge the idea that colonial power ended with political independence. Instead, I argue that it has transformed and adapted a new economic and technological structures. In Orwell's essay, power operates through psychological pressure and the need to perform authority before an audience. In today's gig economy, this dynamic reappears in a different form. Control is no longer enforced through direct coercion, but through algorithmic systems that monitor, evaluate, and discipline workers. Thus, the shift is not from power to freedom, but from visible domination to invisible data driven governance. In this slide, I define what I can call platform power in the context of contemporary India. Power has not disappeared, it has shifted from visible coercive authority to invisible algorithmic governance. Digital platforms now regulate labor through ratings, surveillance, and performance metrics, creating a system where control is not imposed directly but internalized by the worker. Much like Shooting an Elephant, where the colonial officer performs authority under constant observation, gig workers today operate under a continuous digital gaze. They adjust their behavior not because they are forced to, but because they anticipate evaluation. In the next slide, the section questions whether the platform economy truly offers opportunities or merely creates an illusion of freedom. The rapid expansion of digital platforms in India undoubtedly generated new forms of employment that promise flexibility and independence. However, this apparent freedom often conceals deeper structures of control. Gig work presents itself as autonomous, yet workers remain bound to algorithmic systems that constantly monitor, evaluate, and discipline their performance. Much like in Shooting an Elephant, where authority is shaped by the pressure of being watched. Gig workers operate under continuous observation where maintaining ratings becomes more crucial than exercising actual freedom. As a result, opportunity and exploitation do not exist separately but coexist within the same digital framework, making freedom conditional rather than absolute. In the next slide, this brings us to the central contradiction of the digital age, what I can call the paradox of digital freedom. Platforms present themselves as spaces of autonomy where individuals can choose when and how to work. But in reality, this freedom is conditional and tightly regulated. Just as the colonial officer in Orwell's narrative is compelled to act against his own will to maintain authority, the gig worker is compelled to perform continuously to remain visible and relevant within the system. Ratings, algorithms, and constant surveillance create a structure where control is no longer external but deeply internalized. Freedom here does not mean the absence of power, but rather the ability to function within boundaries. In this way, contemporary power operates more subtly than colonial rule, not through force, but through the normalization of dependence and self discipline. Moving to the next slide, as we move from the physical marketplace to the digital classroom, we see that the spectacle of reading has infiltrated the way we learn. Much like Orwell's officer, the modern learner is pressured to perform for an invisible evaluator, proving that the colonial logic of legitimacy and control has extended its reach into the psychological development of the 21st century worker. We are, in essence, witnessing the birth of a subject who is pre-trained to accept the precarity to platform capitalism as a natural state of being. Moving to the next slide, to go this genealogy of control, I employ a multifaceted theoretical framework that bridges the colonial past with the digital present. I start with Franz Fanon, whose work on internalized.
I think Shomili, you have to wind up. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, Shomuli, kindly come to the conclusion of your paper as we do not have much time.
Okay. In this contemporary mapping, we see the literal transition of power. We are not just looking at a change in business models, but a technological refinement of colonial discipline. To conclude, this research suggests that the logic of colonial power has not vanished. It has merely been reconfigured within the architecture of platform capitalism. Ultimately, a gig worker, like the colonial officer, remains trapped in a performance for an audience that never stops watching. As we move forward, we must ask ourselves if we have traded physical empires for digital ones, have we truly achieved decolonization or have we simply perfected the art of the cage? Thank you, sir.
All right, Shomili, that was a wonderful paper. I would like to give you one suggestion or simple question straight out of your paper. So listen to this question. In Orwell's text, you said the officer is trapped by the gaze of the native crowd. Right. You've talked about gaze here in your paper. In gig economy, who is the real colonizer? Is it the platform corporation or the consumers, according to you?
I think, ma'am, the consumers.
Okay, so if the consumer is deputized as the new overseer, right, the new colonialism, let's
Yes,
then
ma'am.
focus on the worker then. So Orwell's officer experiences severe psychological guilt, right? So are we
Yes.
seeing a similar internalized colonization, or is it a mere psychological burnout in modern gig workers? Or do you consider it as purely an economic fear of losing a source of income?
Ma'am, the second one.
Which one?
The second. I mean the consumers are having this dominating power where the workers are feeling pressured.
To lose job, fear of losing a source of income. Is it so?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, Chomili, thank you for your insights. We can now move on with our next presenter.
Okay, after that, we have Ananya Niyogi, student of English, who is a student of THK Jain College. The title of her paper is Riding the Gig Wave, Economic Growth and Literary Reflections in India. Ms. Niyogi, please proceed. I would request Ms. Ananya Niyogi to kindly unmute herself and present. I think she has not been able to unmute herself. Ms. Ananya Niyogi, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, please then proceed with the paper.
Yeah. Good afternoon to my to the respected chairperson, the coordinator, and my fellow participants. My title of the topic is Riding the Gig Wave: Economic Growth and Literary Reflections in India. The gig economy features temporary and freelance and part-time positions, often filled by the independent contractors, while offering flexibility and independence to workers. It removes job security and benefits like health insurance and paid leave. Companies save costs by hiring freelancers. Without these benefits, the gig economy is a labor market characterized by temporary contract and freelance jobs. Rather than permanent positions, people earn money from providing on demand work. Services and goods. Gig work includes managing rentals, tutoring, and coding, driving for rideshare services, delivering food, or writing articles. The gig economy experienced significant increases in 2020. Lockdowns forced people to work from home and rely more on purchasing goods and services online. And these trends continued when restrictions were lifted. The rise of the gig economy can hinder full time employees from building careers and long term reputations. It also often erodes worker rights and like health, insurance, and paid leave. Employers feel less pressure to raise wages as they can hire people worldwide, including areas with lower living costs. The flexibility of working gigs can disrupt the work life balance, sleep patterns, and daily life. Long term relationships between workers, employers, clients, and vendors can erode. This can eliminate the benefits of building long term trust, customer services, and familiarity with clients and employers. Workers also need to be wary of online scams that offer high paying job opportunities known as bottom dollar scams. The gig economy thrives on flexible temporary and freelance jobs, benefiting employers by reducing costs like health benefits and paid vacation. For gig workers, this setup offers scheduling freedom and diverse income opportunities, but it is also requires them to manage their own benefits and financial responsibilities, such as taxes. As the gig economy expands, understanding its pros and cons empowers individuals and businesses to make informed decisions about participation. The right minded detractors of giant digital platforms such as Uber and TaskRabbit often present the platforms as the embodiments of an evil trend. They conjure up economic dystopia of poor, powerless gig workers at the mercy of huge digital predators. The ongoing lawsuits to reclassify many of these independent contractors as full employees with all sorts of rights further illustrate the controversies these platforms generate. The platformation to work causes us to question the very meaning of the work, employment, work relationships, insurance, and the role of the state to protect a country's workers. The work with the emergence of web and mobile marketplace with work platforms such as Amazon's Mechanical Turk, Upwork, and on-demand service platforms like Uber and Handy, Doctor on Demand has accelerated the shift in the past 2 to 3 years. But the trust is that the low qualified workers, the world before the digital platforms was much worse. And if we all play our cards right and help policymakers make the right decisions, these platforms can be an actual boon. AI automates mundane tasks and allows the workforce to focus on more meaningful work. Eventually, it increases the job satisfaction and motivation to perform better in employees. The invention of generative AI has repeatedly improved the performance of a highly skilled workforce by 40%. According to recent research reports, it's clear that employees implementing AI tools and techniques in their job experience higher scores in work-life balance. They report a high score in overall job satisfaction at 21%. Such productivity and job satisfaction improvements are higher in skilled employees than in those who don't use AI, and it will always be better for those who use AI to perform their tasks in the future as well. AI has impacted employment in a positive manner. It has opened up entire industries and didn't exist a decade ago, like data science, machine learning, AI ethics, and automation engineering. Today, there is a growth of demand for roles like prompt engineers, AI trainers, and data analysts, especially in India's booming tech ecosystem. Companies like TCS, Infosys, and Accenture hire thousands of professionals in AI-enabled roles that combine human judgment with technology. AI has democratized learning through personalized education. Platforms like Coursera and LinkedIn Learning use AI to recommend skill-based courses, making reskilling easier for professionals across industries. The impact of AI on jobs has introduced new skills and need for personalization in products. AI has also made business applications like customer care and pricing models easier than before. This means that AI doesn't take jobs away, rather, it changes them. The people who adapt to AI gain new career opportunities further than ever. However, the outcomes of technology such as rapid economic growth and improved quality of life are not evenly distributed. While some nations are able to leverage the prowess of technology for their communities, others are ill equipped to do so. One of the most glaring examples of technology leaving a vast part of the globe untouched is the digital divide. In countries, internet, smartphones, and access to the advanced technologies are ubiquitous, providing opportunities for education, employment, and economic advancement. Since 1980, the global economy has undergone a dramatic transformation with the globalization of the labor force, the rise of automation, and above all, the growth of big finance, the big pharma, and the big tech. The social democratic consensus of the immediate post war years have given away a new phase of capitalism that is leaving workers further behind and reshaping the class structure. The precariat, the mass class defined by the unstable labor arrangements, lack of identity, and erosion of rights, is emerging as today's dangerous class. As its demands cannot be met within the current system, the precariat carries transformative potential. To realize that potential, however, the precariat must awaken to its status as a class and fight to its radically changed income distribution that reclaims the commons and the guarantees a livable income for all. For example, we can have The White Tiger as a film by Arvind Adiga portrays precarity through the life of Balram Halwai. Balram's family live in a poverty with no stable income or safety net. Even basic needs like healthcare and education are uncertain. This reflects how liberalization did not benefit rural and lower class populations equally. As a driver, Balram works long hours with no job security, rights, or dignity. He can be dismissed at any time. This mirrors the rise of informal and exploitative labor systems in post liberalized India. The rooster cop metaphor shows how the poor remain trapped in their class due to fear and social conditioning. Even the economic reform's social mobility remains limited. Balram's decision to commit murder and escape reflects a breakdown of moral stability. Survival in precarious system forces individuals into ethically ambiguous choices. Concluding to this, with the rapid growth in the gig economy has been facilitated by the increased use of algorithmic management in the online platforms coordinating to the gig work, there has been a concomitant increase in scholarship related to algorithmic management across scientific domains. However, this literature is fragmented with scholars disagreeing on the conceptualization and management of this, as well as a lack of consensus on dimensions of algorithmic management influence various gig workers related outcomes, the mechanisms through which these influences are exerted, and the relevant boundary conditions. In the gig economy, algorithms are the invisible systems that organize, control, and evaluate work. Platforms like Uber, Swiggy, Zomato rely heavily on algorithmic management instead of human supervisors. Algorithms are the core managers of the gig economy. They increase efficiency and scale, but also create hidden control, reduce work economy, and greater precarity. Thus, gig economy is not a free work, but a new form of algorithmic labor discipline. Thank you.
All right, Ananya, that was a wonderful paper, wonderfully presented. So my observation for your paper is, your paper highlights this very fascinating duality. All right, the gig economy as an engine of economic growth, yet it is a source of literary precarity from socio-cultural perspective, right? So in your research, did you find literature as the only place where the cost of this growth is being accurately recorded or say documented?
No, but as a student of English literature, I tried to blend both the literature and its impacts on this gig economy.
All right. For example, say there are corporate reports, Niti Aayog reports, right? So they focus on economic statistics, right? So basically, they are reducing human beings to mere numbers. Basically, doing dehumanization. But compared to that, for example, the distinction between quantitative success and qualitative suffering, the suffering that we are, understanding through studies in humanities, etc. This is vital. Your paper also mentions this, urban mobility as a keyword. So we often, right, view mobility as a positive term, especially in economic terms, right, in terms of GDP and etc. In literary texts, however, does mobility actually result in social mobility for the worker? Or are we seeing a paradox where the worker is, physically moving, for example, this delivery boy, etc., yet remains socially stagnant? It feels stagnant, right? There's no social mobility happening because they are actually concerned about their, making ends meet at the end of a particular month. So you can, term this as stationary motion. That is my, sort of observation to your paper is. All right.
Yes, ma'am. The workers are stationary motion for they are mobile, but they actually are not mobile because they are mobile till they're active, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So.
All right. All right. Thank you, Anna, for answering this question. It was a wonderful paper. So can we move on to our next presenter?
Yes. Now we have Mr. Jitesh M, who is a student of English, Sacred Heart College, Tevera, Kerala. And the title of her paper is From Darkness to Light, Precarity and Class Struggle in the White Tiger. Please proceed.
Hello, sir. I am audible. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today I am going to present my paper titled From Darkness to Light, Precarity and Class Struggle based on the novel The White Tiger written by Arvind Adiga. This presentation actually focuses on how the novel reflects the harsh realities of socio-economic inequality in modern India, particularly through the concepts of precarity and class struggle. To begin with, the novel tells the story of Balram Halwai, a poor village boy who rises to become a successful entrepreneur in the city. His journey from the darkness of rural poverty to the light and success forms the core of the narrative. The idea of precarity is very important in the study. According to Guy Standing, the precarity refers to a class of people who lives with unstable jobs, lacks of security, and constant economic vulnerability. So in the novel, Balram clearly represents this class. His life is shaped by poverty, exploitation, and the absence of opportunities. Moving on the novel, we can see strongly highlights the class division in India. It represents a sharp contrast between the rich and the poor, symbolized as the light and the darkness. While the rich enjoy power and luxury, the poor in a cycle of servitude and suffering. Another important aspect is exploitation and oppression. Balram works as a driver for wealthy landlords, where he experiences humiliation, injustice, and lack of freedom. The rooster cock metaphor used in the novel shows how the poor are psychologically trapped and unable to escape their condition. Furthermore, the novel critiques the idea of globalization and economic progress. Even though India shows developing, the benefits are limited only to the elite class. The poor continue to struggle, showing that growth is unequal and exclusionary. As the story progresses, Balram undergoes a transformation. He moves from being a servant to becoming an entrepreneur. However, this success comes through a violent act. He murders his master. This act reflects both his resistance against oppression and the extreme depression caused by his situation. This brings us to the idea of moral ambiguity. Balram's success raises as important question: can one achieve success in such a corrupt system without losing one's morality? We can see his story challenges our understanding of right and wrong. The novel deals with several key themes such as precarity, class struggle, power, exploitation, and survival. It shows how difficult it is for individuals from marginalized backgrounds to break free from systematic inequality. So, to conclude, paper by the White Tiger is a powerful critique of contemporary Indian society to expose the deep-rooted inequalities and highlights the struggles of the unprivileged. At the same time, it raises important questions about justice, morality, and the true meaning of success in a rapidly developing nation. So, can I share the screen? Screen is visible? Hello?
Yes, it is.
Uh, so actually the main concepts the paper said. So So the significance of my paper lies in how it connects literature with real social issues. By analyzing the White Tiger by Arvind Adiga, the paper highlights the realities of precarity and class struggle in the modern society. It is important because it shows that economic growth and globalization do not benefit everyone equally, and many people still live in insecurity and exploitation. The paper also helps us understand how literature reflects these inequalities and gives to voice marginalized individuals. Moreover, it raises critical questions about morality, justice, and success, make it relevant not only for literary studies but also for understanding contemporary social conditions. That's thank you.
Is it done?
No, I think he has unintentionally left the meet.
Okay. Should we wait for him then?
Yeah, sure, man. Sure.
So the screen is visible.
Yes, it is. Please proceed. We don't have much time. Your audio is off. Kindly unmute yourself and present the paper.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Since time is of premium importance, I would request to maintain the time.
I think it's a network issue. So responding. Yeah.
Jitesh, if you're facing any network related issue, you can simply, present us the the basic idea of your paper.
Yeah, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So actually, my paper argues that the White Tiger is not just a story of individual success, but a sharp critique of social inequality in modern India. Through Balram's journey, the novel highlights how people in the lower class insecurity and exploitation, which reflects the idea of precarity. At the same time, it shows that breaking free from the system is extremely difficult and often comes with moral compromise. Therefore, the novel questions whether true success is possible in an unjust society without losing one's ethical values. Overall, the paper emphasizes that the novel explores deep class divisions and challenges us to rethink the realities, development, justice, and equality. That's it, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, Jitesh, that was a good paper. So my question or observation, you can call it, is straight out of your paper and is a very simple one. So listen to me. Balram Halwai, you said, breaks out of this rooster coop through an act of violent rebellion, right? Killing somebody. So Guy Standing's theory of the precariat highlights this lack of political voice. So does Adiga's novel suggest that within modern Indian capitalism, upward mobility is only possible through moral compromise and systemic rupture rather than honest labor?
Yeah, it is important because of the economic growth and globalization do not benefit everyone equally. Many people still live in insecurity and exploitation. The character.
Okay, yeah, continue.
Yeah, ma'am.
All right. So if then the system demands moral compromise for escape, all right, let's bridge this to the gig economy then. Escape individualistic, right? Not everybody can do this. So he kills the master and becomes a master. Can the modern gig worker achieve collective mobility, or does the algorithmic system force them into the same hyper individualistic, sort of killing mindset that Balram eventually adopts?
Yeah, actually, the social deep-rooted inequalities and highlights the struggles of the unprivileged. The character already shows that, and at the same time, it raises important questions about justice, morality, and the true meaning of success in a rapidly developing nation. So, connecting, like.
Okay, I think that was enough. It was a good answer, Jitesh. Thank you for your presentation and your insightful paper.
Thank you.
So, can we move on to our next presenter?
Yes, ma'am. Now may I request Mehra Khan, Miss Mehra Khan, student of English of University of Calcutta, to present her paper. And the title of her paper is Gender and Gig Economy, an Analysis of Women Discrimination. Ms. Mehra Khan, kindly proceed.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir, respected chairperson, and all the teachers and all the presenters in the meeting. I would like to have a discussion on the topic gender and gig economy and analysis of women discrimination. The term gig in the gig economy refers back to the short-term arrangements typically of a musical event. Artists like musicians and comedians, they are paid for individual gigs performed. But the term now used in wider context. The gig economy is composed of corporate entities, workers, and consumers. I would like to quote definitions, various definitions, and given by the agencies and broadcasters. Like the agency, like the Internal Revenue Services, defines the gig economy as activity where people earn income providing on-demand job work, services, or goods. Noting that the activity is often facilitated through a digital platform such as a mobile app, and earning may be in the form of cash, property, goods, or virtual currency. The BBC, or also known as British Broadcasting Corporation, presented the following definition for the term: a labor market characterized by the prevalence of short term contracts or freelance work as opposed to permanent jobs. These gig employees are prominent in companies that hire employees for short term individual projects and pay them on an hourly basis or job basis instead of hiring them as full time employees. It is clear that by employing gig workers, companies benefit more than the freelancers that work with them. Even having that, people tend to do gigs to alleviate the disadvantages associated with working for a single organization, as it provides them with minimal flexibility with stipulated in and out time under the strict supervision of a given superior. There has been an increase in the employment rate now in the gig economy, but with this growing economy, there has been a debate that whether they benefited the women or not. In India, women's which comes with many adverse. In India, women's participation is mainly in freelancing and microtasking, which comes with many adverse challenges such as backward technology, low literacy, and bad societal norms, which impede their participation and advancement. Policies should aid women empowerment by focusing more on skill development, less discriminatory practices, aid to promote equal opportunities across all tasks, and support system like childcare. The OECD, which is the short form for Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, emphasizes the need for stronger anti discrimination laws and regulation to address gender based pay gaps and workplace harassment. Women in India are usually engaged in activities like caregiving and cleaning. Due to the less opportunities, women often get low earnings, less security, and extra challenges showcasing their skills. Many women turn to the gig economy due to non work schedules such as childcare and family responsibilities. In India, the female is to male sex ratio underscores severe gender inequality and neglect. According to Niti Aayog, the total workforce participation rate was over 7.5 million, with the number increasing to 20.5 million. Despite such a high growth rate, women's participation remains stagnant at 28%. Challenges stem from a lack of targeted policies and insufficient social security benefits. To conclude, the government must implement solutions include creating more online work opportunities and providing better support during disputes. This kind of situation and condition is very much prevalent in Priya Gan's Your Driver is Waiting, a novel which focuses on a Tamil woman in her 20s working long hours as a rideshare driver to make her ends meet after the death of her father. It explores a world where the promises of hard work and progress are undermined by systemic racism, economic instability, and the gig economy's exploitation. So, this is all I can contribute to the discussion. Thank you, sir.
All right, Mahira, that was a crisp and concise presentation and was also an interesting idea. All right, so my observation for your paper is the gig economy, it was initially hailed as a win-win for women because it provided flexible hours, which supposedly helped women balance domestic duties. All right, so your paper challenges this. Where exactly does the platform, fail women? Is it in terms of safety, the gender pay gap, or the double burden of, unpaid domestic labor? right? Because we always understand it at this moment, at least, that flexibility is a trap, creating double shifts for women. Also, many algorithms, favor peak hour driving, delivery, which are inherently unsafe or culturally, inaccessible for women. So, what is your take on this? Where exactly does the platform, fail us, the women?
Ma'am, I think in many places, like gender pay gaps is also very much there is a discrimination between gender gaps, and moreover, the women are less than the male workers,
All
and
right.
there is also not very much security given to female workers.
Yes. So you're saying that the platform inherits and also amplifies this offline patriarchy rather than just, disrupting it. So based on this, does the design of the platform itself need to be gendered in a way, quote unquote? For instance, should there be women only delivery pools? Or does that further, sort of create this ghetto in terms of women's labor into secondary markets?
I think there should be an equal opportunity for both the genders.
Okay, Mahira. All right, that was a good answer. All right, so can we move on to our next presenter then?
Yes, we have Dr. Ruma Sheikh, Assistant Professor, Kathak Dance, Alliance University, Bengaluru. The title of her topic is Artistic Labor in the Age of the Gig Economy, Negotiating Precarity and Creativity in Contemporary Dance Practice.
Namaskar. Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
So, I will start my presentation.
Dr. Shil, are you there?
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Please proceed.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Slide is visual. No issues.
Okay. Today I will be presenting my paper titled Artistic Labor in the Age of the Gig Economy, Negotiating Precarity and Creativity in Contemporary Dance Practice. This paper explores how the profession of dance is changing under new economic conditions, especially in the context of freelance and project-based work structure. As a dancer and a teacher myself, this topic is closely connected to my own observation and experience. The rapid expansion of the gig economy has transformed many professions, including the performing art. Earlier, dance was often associated with long-term institution training and relatively stable teaching or performance opportunities. However, today many dancers work on a freelance basis, moving from one project to another. In this paper, I focused on two key aspects: personality, meaning instability, and creativity, meaning how dancers continue their artistic practice despite challenges. Next one is gig economy. The gig economy refers to a system where work is short-term, flexible, and project-based. There is usually no permanent contract or long-term job security. In the performing art, this is visible in performances, workshops, festivals, and collaboration that are temporary in nature. This model gives flexibility but also creates uncertainty for artists. Next one is artistic labor. Dance is a labor, not just art, includes performance, teaching, and choreography. Dance should not be seen only as an art form, but also as a form of labor. It includes performance, choreography, teaching, rehearsals, and continuous training. All of these require time, effort, and discipline. However, this labor is often undervalued because artistic work is sometimes seen as passion rather than profession. Next is precarity. One of the major challenges dancers face is precarity. This includes irregular income, lack of institution support, and limited financial security. In many cases, dance is still not considered a stable career option. As a dancer and teacher, I have personally observed how difficult it can be to maintain consistency in work and income. Creativity. Despite these challenges, dancers continue to be creative and innovative. Its effects on our traditional pedagogy. They adapt to changing conditions by exploring new forms of performance and teachings. Workshops, collaborations, and experimental choreography have become important way of sustaining artistic practice. Creativity becomes a way of survival as well as expression. Here also we saw the effect on traditional performance on stage. Instead of authentic repertoire, people are more work on creativity because of time limitation and sponsorship. Next one is digital platforms. Digital platforms play a very important role today. Online classes, social media performances, and virtual collaborations have opened new opportunities. Dancers can now reach wider audiences and create new sources of income. However, these also require continuous visibility and self-promotion. There is a constant negotiations between artistic passions and economical survival. Dancers often take, sorry. There is a constant negotiation between artistic and economical survival. Dancers often take on multiple roles such as performer, teacher, and content creator. This creates a hybrid professional identity. While this allows flexibility, it also increases workload and pressure. To conclude, the gig economy has significantly reshaped dance practice. While it creates conditions of precarity and instability, it also opens new space for creativity and innovations. Dancers continuously adapt and negotiate these challenges. This is a need for greater recognition and support for artistic labor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for associating this entire discourse of literature and gig economy with dance. We also came to know about this, so thank you for this insightful paper. So, ma'am, we usually associate gig work with food delivery, but your paper applies it to dance. How has the culture of gig changed the aesthetics or ontology of dance? Are dancers creating shorter, Instagram worthy routines just to survive the attention economy?
Yes. Nowadays, they are doing for that like gig economy only. They are doing. Just a minute, ma'am. I just stopped that sharing. I'll come to. Yeah. By social media and all, they do the income. Okay, they get the source of income, but that is not for a long time. We need a long time one, and you know that for the that purpose, that is the shortcut way, and people are adopting nowadays that shortcut way, and because of that, the sponsors are not sponsoring for the actual traditional dancing. Programs, okay, they are not able to show their full traditional repertoire on the stage somehow, and for people are more attract with that reels and all, and they are going to their that who that like these gurus only, that social media's gurus. Sometimes as a teacher, no, people are coming to me and ask, ma'am, how long time we need for that get the degree or for learning the dance? I for my personal that one only I'm telling. So that time I just give the answer. Till now I'm telling that I am learning. Then how can I tell? And nowadays, you know that for the sponsorship and because of sponsorship, very less programs are happening. People, new generation, they can't get the stage because of they have to pay by their self and get the stage. So somehow it is effect on our economics.
Okay, ma'am. If dance is being reduced to content for clicks, my then follow up is actually about resistance. How can artists reclaim the sacred or slow nature of their craft without losing economic survival, without thinking about this economic question back in their minds? So, can artistic precarity trigger a counter movement, or is the market too heavy a force to fight or resist?
Hello, can you tell me? I can't hear you. Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I wanted to know about the survival or the resistance thing. How can artists reclaim the sacred or slow nature of their craft without losing this, this economic survival question from their heads? Can artistic precarity trigger a counter movement? Is it possible? I mean, I'm actually wanting to know what is the possibility of resistance, or is the market actually a very heavy force to fight or resist in any form?
If we all artists try and get some solution, we all get together and we were to discuss on that from Ministry of Culture, from Sangeet Natak Academy, who are the main its headquarters for all the cultural zones. If we all comes together with our whoever we can do for our future we can see, like today I am working, I am a professor in a dance program, but so many students are like this only. They did their PhD, they completed their PhD, completed masters, but they didn't get the job, and they are not able to create the classes and all. So we have to do something from the Ministry of Culture, Sangeet Natak Academy, whoever is there, whoever is there, upper body, our upper body, they should do something. I think it will be some whatever I am telling, that we can manage if everyone comes together, and we can stop all that social media.
All right, ma'am. Thank you so much for those experience-based insights. We've actually learned a lot from your experiences. Let's move on to our next presenter.
Yes, may I now request Mr. Tothagata Chondo, Assistant Professor of the Department of English to THK Jain College, to kindly present his paper. And the title of his paper is Zugato, a study on the condition of the precariat in the Indian context. So, Mr. Chondo, kindly proceed.
Very good afternoon to everyone, respected Chair Madam, respected Coordinator Sir, and my respectable fellow participants. As I've already mentioned the title of my paper, I will just begin with it. So the gig economy is composed of corporate entities, workers and consumers. The Internal Revenue Service defines the gig economy as activity where people earn income providing on-demand work, services or goods, noting that the activity is often facilitated through a digital platform such as a mobile app or website, and earnings may be in the form of cash, property goods or virtual currency. Now, the digital platforms or marketplaces connect individual service providers directly to customers for a fee. According to BBC, the BBC defines this gig economy as a term that is a labor market characterized by the prevalence of short-term contracts or freelance work as opposed to permanent jobs. The corporate entities employ the services of the workers for short-term commitments, for, say, temporary work assignments. They are often disturbing a marketplace with an alternative form of commercial product. The corporate entities are often able to provide a different type of service or product because the gig business model does not burden them with costs such as a sick leave and health insurance benefits, as well as office space, equipment, and training. Sometimes this enables them to hire expertise that they could not otherwise afford. Now, the workers include freelancers, independent contractors, project-based workers, and temporary or part-time hires. They often enjoy greater flexibility in terms of scheduling, contract, and work-life balance. The consumers enjoy the benefit of better choices and convenience. Now, being said this, now, basically the common types of digital platforms are those like ride-sharing services, food or package delivery services, crafts and handmade items, marketplaces, on-demand labor, and repair services, property and space rentals in general. Now, if I move forward to this concept of the precariat, according to Guy Standing, he defines the precariat as a growing global class facing chronic insecurity, unstable labor, and lack of occupational identity, defined by insecure non-work, that is like 0-hour contracts and loss of rights. Now, see, like the concept of the old precariat or the proletariat, the precariat, it lacks the rights, the basic rights, certain benefits and workplace security, which is a bit dangerous in the long run. Now, if I come to the film, Zugato, film and literature are two powerful mediums that have a significant impact on our lives and society. So this film is a powerful entity, or say it shows light on the harsh realities of the gig economy in India. The movie directed by Nandita Das tells the story of Manas. Though I'm taking the name, but I firmly believe that it is the story of every middle class working in the post-COVID era, who is a delivery rider, who has to work as a delivery rider to make ends meet. The film highlights the struggles he faces from dealing with unpredictable algorithms and ratings to coping with financial instability. Now, the gig economy portrayed in the film is a system that prioritizes efficiency and profit over worker dignity and well-being. Manas's experiences reveal the dark side of this economy, where workers are treated as responsible and are often left without support or security. At times they have been treated as they are the masters, but in reality, they are nothing. The companies are just using them. Now, I would like to say certain instances from the film. In the film, we find it's based in Bhubaneswar and it's placed just after the COVID era. So not only Manas, but there are also others, his friends, who are trying to work, but those who do not have a motorbike like that of Manas. We find a person waiting for Manas every day at the petrol pump station, waiting just to ask him that, can I do the same delivery on a cycle? Manas, though he wishes to give him answer, he doesn't, because he knows that that would mean a competitor. Now, in a way, the apps actually, it controls them. They just transform these workers into data points. It also brings one important aspect. No matter what the apps claimed, that they do not believe in this religion, caste, creed, whatever they say, in the film it is being shown that a Muslim guy, he is afraid to enter a temple to deliver the food. And it is up to Manas to go there and deliver it for him. In return, he gets a basic amount. So that shows that there is difference. Now, while writing this paper, I had this opportunity of asking one of the fellow Rapido drivers, who is a part-timer. So when I initially asked him that, are you happy with this service? And he told me, yes, I'm very much happy. It's an extra income. Say, basis of, I'm not mentioning the amount that he said, but he was very much happy. Then I asked him certain questions which are crucial to my paper. I said, what about security? It is like you are on the app, so you are gaining something. If you are turned off, you are not getting anything. There are no benefits. Then he said, yes. I said, what about illness? Or what about quote unquote holidays? Then he couldn't give me any answer. So no matter what it shows, at the end, we have to understand that these people, they are also forming a part of a larger workplace. They are becoming workers of these digital platforms. They are different platforms. Now, there is an interesting line in the film which I like to quote, where when one of his Manas's friend asked him that, why are you doing this job? He says that, वो मजदूर है इसलिए मजबूर है. Manas contradicted him and saying that perhaps it is वो मजबूर है इसलिए मजदूर है. At times we also see that if the customer is not happy with the delivery, what they can do is they can do something with the rating. Now this rating, there is an incident where a drunken guy, Manas goes to deliver him food. They refuse the food and there is a heated argument. Though at the end they take the food and everything goes fine, but the ratings, he complained that Manas was drunk. So that left him with a choice that either for the next 5 deliveries, he have to do that at a lower price, or he had to do certain more deliveries for free. And at the top of that, his ID is being blocked. So these are the areas that we must also focus. It is true that this gig economy is providing opportunities for workers, but it is on a very temporarily basis. At the end of the film, we see that both Manas and his wife, though there are instances where we find Manas initially is not willing, is not allowing his wife to work, who works as a misuse, and then she's searching work in at a mall as a somewhat like a cleaning person. Now, at the end, it ends on a very sweet note that both of them somehow they learn to work with this situation. I was forced but to think about the ending of Look Back in Anger, where the central character, both of them, somehow they must learn to live with this situation, even with the symbols of this their parents' symbols. But both Jimmy and Allison, they have to learn. Similarly, the ending of the film, it shows that perhaps we need to learn to cope with this kind of a situation. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chanda, that was a brilliant paper. You've brought in references from other texts as well as, sort of field study, asking questions to real life gig workers as well. All right, so my observation or other question for you is that Nandita Das's Vigato does a beautiful job of humanizing the delivery rider. From a sociological point of view, how do you think the film depicts the erosion of social capital? For instance, there's this protagonist who used to be a factory floor manager with a community. Now he is completely isolated on his motorbike. How do you see it?
Yes, very good observation, madam. Yes, he is definitely is isolated. If we watch the film closely, most of the times he is somewhere he's trying to tell his wife and perhaps himself also that everything will be fine. Somehow I will manage it. Nonetheless, it's a film. It will end on a different note, on a happier note, or it does gives us a kind of hope to carry on. But the most important question that the film has raised is about the life of these gig workers. This I find to be a very interesting point of the film. At least questions are being raised. This is what we can hope for. And I'm also grateful to seminars like this, so that in future, maybe near future, we can come out with certain solutions.
All right, so if the gig economy strips away physical workspaces and human solidarity or community, how do these workers actually build resistance? If they are isolated on their bikes, what becomes the modern equivalent of factory strikes, etc.?
Yeah, there are certain resistance. See, the Indian government at present is working that apps like Zomato or Amazon or Flipkart, they need to do something for these workers. There is maybe little, but there is a resistance which is growing. So they need to provide them something, some basic amount, some security. They need to provide them. Works are going on over there. So hopefully some better outcome would come out of that.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for that answer. So now can we move on to our next presenter?
Yes, may I now request Dr. Tomal Jana, state-aided college teacher, Department of English, Shakrail Onil Vishwa Smriti Mahavidyalaya, present his paper. The title of his paper is Voices from the Margins, Gig Economy Workers in Contemporary Protest Literature. So, Dr. Jana, kindly.
Okay. Very good afternoon to everyone. Thank you, Chair Madam, in this technical session. Thank you, coordinator, sir. Now I am going to present my paper that already be told by the coordinator, sir. Voices from the Margins, Gig Economy Workers in Contemporary Protest Literature. Now, first of all, what the gig economy refers. The gig economy refers to a labor market where work is organized around short-term flexible jobs instead of permanent full-time employment. Workers are typically paid per project or service rather than receiving a fixed salary. That is all about the basic reality of the gig economy. Why actually the gig economy matters? I think the gig economy is reshaping modern labor systems globally, especially in countries like India, where digital platforms are rapidly expanding while it offers opportunities, it also raises concerns about workers' rights, fair wages, and long-term security. As my topic is Voices from the Margins, Gig Economy Workers in Contemporary Protest Literature. What does actually the contemporary protest literature refer? I think the contemporary protest literature refers to literary works produced in recent times, late 20th to 21st century, that actively challenge social, political, and economic injustices. It continues the tradition of resistance writing but adapts to modern issues, voices, and platforms. In the contemporary global economy, the rise of the gig economy has transformed traditional labor structures, creating flexible yet precarious forms of employment. Gig workers such as delivery riders, ride share riders, freelance digital workers, and the platform based service providers often operate outside the protections of conventional labor laws. This new form of work has generated widespread debates on labor rights, social security, and the economic justice. In recent years, contemporary protest literature has emerged as a powerful medium to articulate the struggles, resistance, and lived experiences of gig economy workers who remain largely marginalized in mainstream social economic narratives. How contemporary protest literature represents the voices of gig economy workers and highlights their experiences of insecurity, exploitation, and invisibility within digital capitalism. Through poems, essays, short stories, blogs, and digital narratives, writers and activists portray the everyday realities of algorithmic control, unstable income, lack of benefits, and the psychological stress faced by the gig workers. These literary expressions function not only as artistic representations but also as forms of socio-political resistance that challenge dominant narratives of flexibility and entrepreneurial freedom often associated with the gig economy. Protest literature provides a platform through which marginalized workers can reclaim their agency and visibility. By documenting their struggles and aspirations, such literature contributes to broader discourses on labor justice, workers' rights, and ethical technological development. The narratives often emphasize solidarity, collective action, and the urgent need of policy reforms that protect gig workers from exploitation. That contemporary protest literature plays a crucial role in amplifying subaltern voices and exposing structural inequalities embedded within the gig economy. By foregrounding the lived realities of gig workers, these literary texts bridge the gap between economic analysis and the human experience, encouraging readers to reconsider the ethical and social implications of platform based labor in the modern world. Actually, my paper focuses on how the literary representation of precarity, algorithmic control, and the transformation of invisible labor into a site of active resistance in contemporary fiction and narrative non-fiction the gig worker emerges as a quintessential marginalized figure of digital capitalism. Thank you. That's all about my paper.
All right, Dr. Tamal Jana, thank you for this wonderful paper that basically contextualizes protest literature in terms of the economy. So my observation for your paper would be, in traditional labor movements, sir, songs and banners were visible in the streets. Can digital protest literature actually threaten an invisible algorithm, or actually acts like a pressure valve for exhausted workers?
What, ma'am? If you please repeat the question.
So the core idea of my question is, can digital protest literature actually threaten this invisible algorithm? You've also talked about, invisible algorithm in your paper also. So is it just, can it threaten an invisible algorithm since it's invisible, or is it just a pressure valve for exhausted workers?
Actually, ma'am,
All right. So if digital literature, for example, yes, sir.
yes.
Okay. So if digital literature creates empathy and visibility, for instance, can you talk about, talk something about archive? Are we seeing the birth of a new literary subgenre in India, like platform realism? Can we term that, or do we, see it entering mainstream books, or is it destined to stay, little ephemeral social media literature itself? All right, sir. I think we can move on to the next presenter. We can always, keep our discussions open and.
I think there is supposed to be another paper presenter from the previous session. I don't see her to be present in this session. Ms. Ramayani De. Can't see her present. So hopefully we'll wrap up this session here.
All right.
And before
yes,
wrapping up, I think we can take 1 or 2 questions.
Yes.
If with the permission of you, ma'am.
Yes.
If there are any. Yeah.
Are there any questions? In the chat box, or students willing to question any of the presenters? I think there are no questions.
Yes, I think we can wrap up the session here.
Yes.
Before doing that, let me take this opportunity to actually express my gratitude to Dr. Anupama Bandyopadhyay. Her incisive and precise observation, I think, will go a long way with the paper presenters in building up their paper in future. On behalf of the college and as organizing secretary of this seminar, I express my deepest gratitude to Dr. Anupama Bandyopadhyay, and I also express my indebtedness to all the paper presenters who have presented papers on diverse topics. Just goes to show the fact that this particular session was entitled as Gig Economy and Intersectionality. And we have received paper from creative arts, from the question of gender. So just goes to show the justifiability of naming the session as Gig Economy and Intersectionality. So thank you to all of you. Now, may I request Mr. Shubhankar Acharya, Department of English, to kindly read out the report of the day.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon to all respected dignitaries, esteemed speakers, participants, and dear colleagues. I, Shubham Rajaya, a part of Department of English, Seva Bharati Mahavidyalaya, feel privileged to present the report of the second day of the two-day national seminar on the economic and literary trajectories of gig economy, the Indian experience. The second day of the seminar was conducted in online mode and consisted of a series of insightful and engaging technical sessions. The day began with technical session 2, which focused on gig work and India's changing labor landscape. The session highlighted important issues such as the impact of gig economy on employment, the role of digital platforms and social media, financial inclusions through UPI, and emerging concerns related to youth engagement in gig work. And this was followed by technical session 3 titled representation of gig economy in literature, where presenters examined how contemporary literature reflects the realities of gig workers, addressing themes of precarity, identity crisis, and neoliberal pressures, etc. In technical session 4 on precarity and promise, gig work in India's digital economy, scholars presented empirical and analytical studies on gig workers' lived experiences, including issues of risk, resilience, happiness, and social security, with special reference to so many regions, especially Kolkata and Jharkhand, and many more. The final session, technical session 5, focused on gig economy and intersectionality. This session brought forward critical discussions on gender discrimination, class struggle, statistic labor, and marginal voices, highlighting the broader sociocultural implications of the gig economy. All the sessions witnessed active participation and meaningful academic exchange, making the day highly productive and intellectually stimulating. In conclusion, the second day successfully deepened the interdisciplinary understanding of the gig economy by integrating economic analysis with literary and cultural perspectives. So, thank you all. Thank you for your kind attention. Okay, Vigda.
Thank you, Shubhankar. Thank you for reading out the report of the day. May I now request Dr. Shomit Kumar Maiti, IQAC coordinator of Seva Bharati Mahavidyalaya, to kindly offer his formal vote of thanks.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you. I am Dr. Shomit Kumar Maiti, IQAC coordinator of Seva Bharati Mahavidyalaya. I feel really privileged to offer the formal vote of thanks at the end of today's national seminar on the economic and literary trajectories of gig economy, the Indian experience, organized by the Department of Economics and Department of English, in collaboration with IQAC Seva Bharati Mahavidyalaya, Jharkhand, West Bengal. At the very outset, I like to extend my hearty thanks to Mr. Jhulan Kumar Mohanty, President, Governing Body of Seva Bharati Mahavidyalaya, for his presidential address. And I also like to convey my hearty thanks to Dr. Debaprasad Sahu, Principal, Seva Bharati Mahavidyalaya, for his introductory speech and for his welcome address. We would like to thank all the resource persons, Mr. Nirupam Hajra, the keynote speaker, Assistant Professor, Department of Social Work, Bankura University, for his wonderful keynote address on the title of Technology and the Future of Work. We'd also like to thank Dr. Sukhendu Das, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Bankura University, for his plenary talk number 1. And Dr. Shatarupa Bandyopadhyay, Associate Professor, Department of Economics, Jhargram Raj College, for the lecture number 2 at the plenary session 1. We are also thankful to Dr. Ashish Datta, Associate Professor, Symbiosis Center for Media and Communication, Symbiosis International University, Pune, for his lecture number 3 at the plenary session 2. And we also like to convey our thanks and gratitude to the chairperson of different technical sessions. We are thankful to Dr. Ashish Datta for chairing the technical session number 1. And we are also thankful to Dr. Ishita Mukhopadhyay, Professor, Department of Economics, University of Calcutta, for chairing the technical session number 2. And we also tender our hearty thanks to Dr. Jolly Das, Professor, Department of English Literature, Language and Cultural Studies, Vidyasagar University, for chairing the technical session number 3. We thank Dr. Devottam Chakraborty, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics, Sundarban Haji Dasarath College, for chairing the technical session number 4. And we also like to convey our cordial thanks to Dr. Anupama Bandyopadhyay, Assistant Professor, Department of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences, Manipal University, Jaipur, for chairing the technical session number 5. We also convey our thanks and gratitude to all the paper presenters who have presented their papers through the whole day, and they also presented the paper in the last day. So we also thank them for their wonderful paper presentations. And my special thanks to Mr. Rick Sorkar, Assistant Professor and HOD, Department of English, for being the organizing secretary of this 2-day national level seminar. And we also convey my hearty thanks to Dr. Mousumi Mitra, Assistant Professor and HOD, Department of Economics, Seva Bharati Mahavidyalaya, for being the convener of this 2-day national level seminar. Thanks and gratitude to all the members of the organizing committee, teachers, non-teaching staff of the college, and we also express our thanks to Mr. Shubhankar Acharya for being the rapporteur for the two consecutive days. And we also thank all the participants, students, and everybody who has supported this national level seminar for the 2 days. And now I think it is time to declare that the 2-day national level seminar on the economic and literary trajectories of gig economy, the Indian experience, has been a grand success with all your participation, with all your cooperation. Thank you everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Mushk.